Molt bé, ara arribem a la...
Okay, now let's move to today's last session, which is an inspiration session. Now I would like to invite Rosana and Beatrice from the Concilia project, and Mercedes and Valentina. Please welcome to the stage.
Concilia és un programa...
Concilia is a Barcelona City Hall project, and Co-Responsable is another project by the government of Catalonia that helps with free babysitting services. Now we would like to hear from the beneficiaries of both these projects.
Fata Valentina, on està? Perfecte. Molt bé. Podem començar?
Let's begin then. Welcome Beatrice, Rosana and Mercedes. Is it working? I don't know if it's working. Yes, it is working.
Estoy acostumbrada a hablar a un público que me escucha, además.
I'm not used to talking to people who listen to me because I teach high schoolers, so this is something new. You are a user of the Concilia program, and by the way, let me remind you that you can speak Catalan, Spanish, or English. So how was your daily life before the Concilia project? First, my name is Beatrice. I'm a user of the Concilia project of the Carmel neighborhood. And well, I'm not from here and I didn't have a support network with me. I didn't have my family nearby and I couldn't afford paying childcare or someone to help me out. And I have 4 children, Arturo, Iago, Ulisse, y Etero. Hello. And I'm very happy with them, but at the same time, I'm exhausted, mentally and physically. We are almost powerful, but we are very powerful, but we get tired. We feel lonely. We have absurd schedules. And we are told that we are asking for too much. We want to be able to work and be able to be with our children. And this seems to be asking too much and being present in their growing up. So it is difficult to get them to the doctor without a visit lasting for 50 minutes instead of 15 minutes. Sometimes we need to study again and we don't know how to do everything that we need to do. And in my case, and I guess it's the case of other people as well, we do not have time to spend alone with each of our children. Because you take one to the supermarket, your husband cooks the dinner with the other. And, well, at the end of the day, you end up having very serious conversations in front of a plate of tomatoes. And you need time with all of them. You need time to have a coffee or a vermouth with your friend. Because we are mothers, but we are still friends, colleagues, and such. Thank you. And can you tell us how the Concilia or Co-Responsable program has helped you in your daily life? Yes, my name is Mercedes. I'm a user of the program in Santa Coloma de Gramenet, next to Barcelona. And I am very thankful with the service that I'm a user of. Because as she said, being a mother and being able to manage the household and all the activities and having quality time with our children sometimes seems impossible. And for me, accessing childcare was very difficult. I had to resort to different people, ask different mothers in the school. I had to ask colleagues who would they recommend. And because you're not leaving an object at the care of someone else, you're leaving the most important person for you in your life to someone based on a recommendation. And in these WhatsApp groups, I read about this possibility. In the WhatsApp group of their school, someone said that this service existed. And I said, okay, let me check it out. And when I got there, I found wonderful facilities, wonderful professionals, and an open mind that was very positive. And I thought, where's the catch? And there was no catch. There was no waiting time, no waiting list. It is free. And I said, well, do I need to be registered in the city? And they said, no, it is free. And I said, okay, I will try it out. And after trying it out, my daughter is amazed at how well she's doing there. She wants to spend even more time there because she has fun. She's surrounded by wonderful professionals. And I can use the benefits. Because before I would go to work, but I was not 100% mentally speaking at work, because I was thinking about my daughter, how are they taking care of her? But when I go there and I see how professional they are, how they care for the children, and how happy my daughter is, she's full of happiness, and she's living so many wonderful experiences, and she tells me great anecdotes. She explains how she shares with other children and how she feels sometimes the older sister of some of the other children. So beyond the benefit that we enjoy as parents, we see the added value for our children, because our children can develop sharing abilities, they can work on the respect towards others, and I think those are very important values in our society. Thank you. And what about you? Please share how your experience has been with the Concilia program. My name is Rosana. I am a single mother for my children, for 3 children, and we learned about the Concilia program. And the program takes place in the school of my 2 youngest, because the oldest is going to high school already. And that has left me at ease because they know the space already. And I knew about it through the school. And at first I was reluctant to use it because I couldn't even believe it. The fact that we had this opportunity that would allow me to find a better work-life balance. It was an opportunity for me, as I was saying, but it was a wonderful opportunity for my children as well, because now they have a bigger network. Sometimes we're walking around the street and they say, oh, I know this child from the Concilia program. So they are making friends. And thanks to that, I've been able to truly find a work-life balance. I have time to go to work, come back from work, and I breathe at ease now. And I want to thank who made that possible. Valentina, you enjoyed the program, La Siva, in Santa Coloma de Gramenet. Yes, my name is Valentina. I'm a young immigrant mother, and I live in Santa Coloma de Gramenet. I arrived in Spain with a lot of willingness and eager to thrive, but I was very afraid. My son was just a few months old. I didn't have the family with me. I did not have a working permit, and I was going through a very delicate situation with the father of the child. And I remember that time with a lot of uncertainty. My son was with me 24/7. I didn't find a spot in the childcare public facilities, and that made it very difficult for me to work or study, to go to the doctor, or even do bureaucracy. I could not even go to the toilet on my own. And in the midst of everything, I found an opportunity, an intensive course in person and online. And when I got accepted, I felt excited but afraid. I was finally able to train, to get some training in something that I was interested in that could open doors for me in the future, but I didn't know how to manage in this unknown and big country that made me feel so small. And that's when I heard about this childcare service in which I could leave my son while I was studying, and I could not even believe that this existed. I felt relieved, but again, I felt afraid because I had never left my son with anyone else. But from the very first moment that I arrived, I felt warmth. I felt that I was being welcomed with open arms. And I felt that they were as welcoming with my son.
Él era tan chiquitito.
He was so small, and the people working there were so loving that I immediately trusted them. And I would study in the same building as where they were taking care of him. So if I needed, I could see him. And he had a place to enjoy time and play with others. At the same time, I was going through separation and very hard moments for me at a personal level, and I had to reinvent myself, and I wouldn't have been able to do that without the childcare service. Thanks to this program, I could able to finish my training because it was not only a matter of studying, it was a matter of having self-confidence and knowing that I could offer my son something better. And this service may seem very simple, but it was more than that. It gave me time to breathe, time to care for myself, and it welcomed me in a network of support in a country where I didn't have anyone at the beginning. That is why when I talk about time to have work-life balance, I talk from my own experience because I know how it feels to not having anyone to trust your child with and not having the means to move forward. And this program not only helped me to find a balance, it helped me to be reborn. Behind every story, a childcare story, there's a story of a woman that with a little bit of support managed to transform their lives and their children's.
Bravo, qué bonito.
Muchas gracias a todas las.
Thank to all the witnesses. If someone doesn't know the Concilia or Corresponsable program, would you recommend it? Yes, undoubtedly yes. Do not feel ashamed. I recommend it 100%. It has been very helpful for me, not only because, well, at the beginning, it allowed me to have time to work without having to change my schedule, without having to take time off to take my child to school, without having to feel exhausted. I think there was some feeling, I blamed myself because sometimes we leave our heart at home when you are working and you are not working 100%, never. Because you sometimes feel guilty because you cannot spend time with your children 100% of the time. But when you have access to this service, when you are at ease because you know that your children are being taken care of in a safe environment, when you go back home, you are not as tired, you enjoy your time with them more. You have quality time with your children. I have one daughter, but she has 4. And she has time to enjoy with their children. So yes, 100% I would recommend it. It is a need for me. And I will never stop speaking about the SIBA program, and I always try to spread the word because it has a lot of benefits not only for the parents but also for the children. They learn a lot. If I may, I'm just going to tell a story. Valentina and I use the same service, but we do not see each other that much, probably because we do not have the same schedules. But my daughter and her son love each other deeply. My daughter is a little bit older, and Joaquin feels like her younger brother. So I think it is very helpful for them to feel that love. I hear how Abril talks about Joaquin had a fever, Joaquin said his first word, and so on. And I think this is beautiful. And it is better for them to be in that environment than immersed in social media and looking at a phone screen. Sometimes the alternative to this, because of the tools or the lack of thereof, parents give a screen to the child, so you have time to do what you want to do or you need to do. So you find time for yourself, and your child has a more productive time. So instead of just using screen time to have time for you as a parent, there are alternatives. And I think both things are important. You need your time to do your own things, to do what you need to do, but you can do it without harming a tiny person who is growing up and who needs to do things appropriate to their age. And I think this type of services are the best place to do so. Yes, as a mom, do not feel ashamed if you have to ask for help. And this is something I'm still working on. At first, I felt ashamed because I needed help. I needed help so that they wouldn't kick me out of work. And having time to correct, grade the exams. And I know this is stupid, but I wanted to go to the supermarket being in the right mind, and so the Concilia program helps you save money, because when you go with your children to the supermarket, you know that that's a whole different story, right? So it gives me life, literally. It gives me time to care for myself so I can care for others. And we need just a hand. Being a mother is not just a desire. It is not something that I can stop being at any moment. No. And here I would go on how the society sees motherhoods. But anyway, last year I broke the knee. If you've been in my neighborhood, you know how it is. I fell down, I broke my knee. And for 6 months, I couldn't walk. And I didn't have anyone. In the morning, another mother from the school helped me take them to school. But I didn't have anyone to pick him up, and my husband could not finish work before I had to pick them up. And when I went to the rehab program in July, they took care of my children so I could go to take care of myself. So just a few examples.
Va, sigue.
Que confiïn, com parlàvem abans, no? Que confiïn en aquests espais que semblen fantàstics però existeixen, on els infants estan amb uns educadors i unes educadores espectaculars, que ells creen xarxa i elles creen xarxa, i després com a mares el ventall d'oportunitats laborals, perquè el que deies tu, hem de treballar per poder seguir cuidant, però això també ens empodera, el poder dir, ostres, puc cuidar, soc mare, treballo, i jo crec que aquesta generació que pugi veient-nos així tan fortes, jo crec que serà guai. I res, això, que ho provin i que tant de bo s'implementi a molts llocs i duri sempre.
Muy bien. Valentina.
Claro que lo recomiendo al 200%.
Sorry, it's recommended in many other places. Yes, of course I recommend it. I recommend it 200%. And I would also like to recommend that people make use of these spaces that helped me once, and saved my life once. I mean, my child is 4 years old, and my use of this service is minimal nowadays. But back in the day, without this service, I just could not have achieved everything I've achieved so far. So I do absolutely recommend it. The interpreter apologizes. The preceding speaker said, yes, it's amazing, and they form networks, and definitely everybody should grow up seeing strong women like this as their parents. Does anybody from in the audience have this, have a question? Please use the microphone. Yes. How many hours of Concilia service are provided, and how long did it take you to get admitted to the Concilia service? And lastly, how many hours of paid work do you work? How many hours of paid work do you have? Just so we all become aware of the fact that motherhood entails basically sacrificing by having, well, part-time work or work involving shorter hours. This is because society's idea of the motherhood role just entrusts the full responsibility for care or places the full burden of care on the woman's shoulders. Being a mother nowadays means you have to be a superwoman. You have to do it all. Yes, it's true. Well, in my case, the waiting period was the time it took me to send in my paperwork. In other words, a copy of my ID card, of my healthcare card, and just a statement of what days I needed care and what hours. And that's something I did via email, and I got a reply on the same day. You know, if you send it in the morning, you will pretty much get an immediate response, and there are different slots. Morning or afternoon. Sometimes I needed both slots, morning and afternoon, because there are some days when I need to work morning and afternoon. Something about the hours, and I think it's really important. When you sign your kid up for extracurricular activities, you're often told, once we have a minimum of 10 children, we will have the activity. If we don't have a minimum of 10 children, this extracurricular activity will not be offered. In the case of the SIVA extracurricular activities, I just needed that childcare service until the very end of the time slot available. And they kept my kid until the end of the time slot available. They didn't just say, okay, the majority of kids are gone. This is the only kid we're caring for, so you're out. So I often arrived, and my kid was the only one, the only kid. So there's no waiting period. The service is immediately available. And as I told you earlier, my daughter actually wanted to go for more hours than I actually needed. But I kept telling her, look, this is a service that other mothers can need, and we shouldn't overuse it. It's important to use it responsibly, not to cause a collapse. Yes, and it's lovely. They never question you about the reason why you need the service. I mean, obviously, when you sign up, they might ask you, is this a medical appointment, whatever. But one of the reasons you can give is, I need time, I need a breather. I need a breather. I need a break. You know, I'm about to explode. Nobody else will accept that as a reason for needing childcare. I mean, yeah, do you need a breather? Should you take your kids with you? Maybe not. You know, and you don't get questioned. You don't get a second degree, the third degree. You can tell them you need a break. You need a breather. And by the way, usually all the other mothers find out eventually because networks emerge. I mean, you're allowing educators, certain educators, to take part in your children's lives. Those educators are there for your children, for you. And the mothers end up developing a caring community. And, you know, everybody ought to have that sort of thing, really. You know, if you use the app, you get accepted the very same day, and yet it's a very, very simple, straightforward system. Yes, that's what I wanted to say. It's an app. As my fellow panelist was saying, I'm getting a whole hour a day, which is what I might consider, you know, like work time, because it's the time it takes me to pick them up. I mean, I send in all my requests based on the kids' calendar and my own calendar, and they reply as you know, as the time approaches. And it's also important to highlight everything they do for children with special needs. I mean, my kids don't have any special needs, but plenty of mothers, well, I have one kid with special needs, yeah. Yeah, so mothers with kids with special needs really, really need a breather sometimes. And this is an unequaled sort of service. It's wonderful. And, you know, as she was saying, just being able to reach so far as a woman, you know, it's just really something. In Santa Coloma, every family is allocated a number of hours on a monthly basis based on the family's needs. In my case, my original need was for training. So the system made up for all of my class hours and also on and off as long as I notified them at least 24 hours ahead of time. You know, they would confirm whether or not there was availability. It was usually available, but of course, I mean, they do need to make plans. But in terms of reaction time, it's quite speedy. You don't have long waiting times or long waiting lines. There are no gaps in communication. It's usually overnight, and it uses effective communication, email, WhatsApp, or in-person replies. Even people who don't speak Spanish or Catalan get a response that's effective. I hope that answers your question. Thank you very much. Anybody else? Okay.
To you, I'll speak in English because unfortunately my Spanish and Catalan is not good enough. I would just like to share.
Da igual.
Muy.
Entenderlo, se habrá contestar.
Vale.
I do understand English. Let's see. I wouldn't be able to answer in English.
Question. I would just like to share an experience from the Global South, from Kenya, where I live. I've been living there for 42 years. And it is a creche that is quite unique. It comes from Meru County. And what happened is that in this town, about 400,000 inhabitants, almost all the women are single mothers. This is part of the reality in Africa. And most of them, their livelihood depends on the market. So you have hundreds, if not thousands, of women working as vendors with stalls selling vegetables, other things in the marketplace. And of course, with no creche. So a few NGOs decided to look into this situation to see how we could help them. And they created a unique creche because the creche is in the middle of the marketplace. and is built out of glass. Why do I say this? Because what happens is that the mothers can leave their children in the crèche, but they have visual communication with their children throughout the whole day that they are in the market. Right? This is an experimental phase right now. We're doing the research behind it to see what the impact is. But the initial results are quite promising. The time that the women can devote to sales has been able to augment their sales by 30%, so their income has also increased. And the most interesting part is that the cognitive skills of these children are 30% above average for their age group. So I just wanted to share this experience with you. It's still ongoing. We're still doing the studies and collecting the data. But it just shows that if we really take this seriously, the care seriously, we also have to be imaginative. We have to come up with innovative solutions. And I found this solution where you put a transparent crèche in the middle of the marketplace exceptional. I just wanted to share that with you.
Thank you. La última pregunta. ¿Algún?
One last question. Anyone? Very good. So we've come to the end of this session. Thank you very much, Valentina. Thank you, Rosana. Thank you, Beatrice. And thank you, Mercedes. Beatrice and Mercedes. So we've come to the end of this morning's session in the Time Use Week 2025. We'll meet you again at 3 p.m. in building number 25. Thank you, everyone. Thanks to the Government of Catalonia, City Council of Barcelona, the Provincial Council of Barcelona, Barcelona Metropolitan Area, Time Use Initiative, and Catalonia International, and the European Union facilitated participation from all over the world. We would also like to thank the participants, both in person and via streaming. Before we proceed, you will find pictures on the Time Use Week website, timeuseweek.com. And also, we have a hashtag. So hash TUW2025. So if you want to share pictures via Instagram, TikTok, and you name it, LinkedIn, whatever, that is our hashtag. So this is the end of this morning's session and program, but it's not the end of Time Use Week. See you at 3 p.m. and see you also on Wednesday at Barcelona.